Well, you can only hold off for so long. Ladies and gentlemen, Twitter absolutely breaking down today, and there are new limits that have been imposed by Elon Musk. I personally think he's trying to put a band-aid on the Titanic. It is clear there are far too many bots. And let me first just say, I'm not even blaming Elon Musk for this. He inherited it. He did want to do a good thing. He wanted to make Twitter open. I get it. But when he inherited Twitter, you're talking about bots already infiltrating the platform. If you guys remember, they made the user creation harder. You had to do more verifications once Musk joined on, but it was already too late. My suggestion at this point, I mean, you can see all the stuff they're imposing. It's clear they're freaking out. They're putting a limit on how many times you can view tweets. I had to ask myself, I wonder how many times I view tweets a day. Like, I don't think, do you actually have to click on the tweet to view it? Or is it just like view? I think you have to click on it. But either way, that is just clearly unsustainable. Yesterday, we heard rumors that something was going to happen with Elon Musk claiming the Twitter login requirement was just temporary. Like, you actually have to log into Twitter to be able to see tweets, as opposed to, you know, before then, you could kind of just surf the web, click on a tweet, go to Twitter, and without logging in, at least see a few different things. It was always a better experience if you logged in. But I do think at this point, Elon Musk is fighting a losing battle. Twitter, Web2, it's already completely infiltrated by bots. My suggestion to Musk and other social networks: make a smooth transition. This can be the launching point. It's time to move to Web3, and you can easily move to Web3. You can just move the profiles to Web3 into a database and say, listen, if you want to activate your account, you're going to need something to prove yourself, to prove that you're human. You completely eliminate the bots. It is time to move to Web3. It's a losing fight. Musk has introduced these different things, requirements. He's trying to cut down on the bots. I'm sure they've done a good job. But again, the issue is there's too many bots that were already on the platform originally when he took over. You're really not going to fix that. It's not fixable. It's like the homeless problem in California. There's just too many of them. It is unfixable at this point without some crazy intervention that seems unrealistic. This is the same type of thing. And also the other thing with Twitter, you're noticing all these people promoting their stuff under tweets. It's just really a complete cesspool at this point. It is still good for news. But I think if you're Musk, this is the turning point. You can't continue this. You're swimming up water. You're swimming up water. We do need Web3. We need all these social networks. If they want to come onto Web3, they can. But if I was Musk and I was Twitter, I would say we've got to get out from under this bot problem. Let's have a fresh start. Really rebrand ourselves on Web3, and look, we're going to bring all the profiles into a database. You're going to keep your followers, but you're going to have to activate your profile for you to be on there, and that would completely eliminate the bots, in my opinion, and really use Nebula or another planet to launch ourselves into Web3, and that is the future of the internet. So this is huge stuff. This is not sustainable. You know, saying, oh, you can only view 600 tweets or whatever it is. That's a clear thing where they're freaking out. They don't know what to do. They can't manage it. And they're trying to at least make Twitter usable for the time being. To me, it's going to be a problem that all of these social media sites run into. I think the biggest question is, how do you verify people while also allowing them to remain anonymous, because that is so important for some people on social media. I absolutely agree. But at the same time, if I'm creating something, me personally, I want to completely eliminate bots, especially with Web3. This is probably how you would do it. It's a launching point onto Web3 after all of this disaster. That's how I would do it. And then I did quickly want to discuss this air quality issue we've had here in America over this past week. You know, a few days ago, I woke up around 6 a.m. at my normal time. I went outside to put on my sweatshirt, and I was greeted with absolutely horrible air quality. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but there is some real bad chemicals that are finally leaving my area and other people's area here in around Ohio and Michigan. So I don't think twice. I go to work out, and as I'm leaving, after a pretty intense cardio session, I was outside walking to my car, and I'm like, what is this? It is certainly not a campfire type smell. They're saying it's the Canadian wildfires, and the smoke's being blown over, kind of like what happened in New York, but it's just this weird haze. It smells like this burning, disgusting chemical that very likely was formaldehyde, which is being blown over apparently, and the smell was picked up by basically all of Michigan and Ohio. The New York Times actually had to write a story about it. Why does the wildfire smoke sometimes smell like burning plastic? They say when trees, branches, and leaves are burned in wildfires, they emit gases. Some of the molecules in the gases might be causing the smell, according to an expert. And they go on in their article to talk about formaldehyde and just how terrible it is and how it can cause cancer. It is horrible. I mean, it's finally starting to get a little bit better, but we had about 3 straight days. The air quality was worse than New Delhi, India. And it is not a campfire smell. It is straight chemicals. And there are people that are working outside very tough. There's actually some MLB games that almost got canceled because of this. And it is interesting with the Canada situation and the wildfires. I wonder what comes out of that in the form of legislation. Because obviously Canada's big on keeping the planet green. They're more liberal than the United States. Will they use those wildfires? By the way, a few of those fires, it's already been suspected that it was arson that started the fires. Will they use those fires as an excuse to push more drastic climate change measures? And listen, I agree the climate is changing. I was on board with it until they started using climate change as a way that they started weaponizing it to take people's rights. It's really sad. That's when I kind of jumped off the bandwagon of that. And that's like, oh, we got to take your cars. You can't take up too much space. You should live in an apartment. All of it goes hand in hand. Of course, they don't want you to have a car. A car equals freedom. They don't want that. They want you to be powerless. Imagine having to bike everywhere. That's why this new way of life that younger kids like, it's remarkable. I mean, I don't understand how you could be happy living in a small apartment, not having any power over life. It's just crazy to me. And I think a lot of that is ignorance and not really understanding what they want. It's like, no, we want to be financially free, but we hate all rich people. No, everyone is trying to be financially free. That is the dream. You want to be able to do what you want. You want land. You want to own things. That's just human nature. And I do think a lot of kids in this country that, the student loans, the student debt, of course, the student debt thing gets shot down. What a joke that is. Hey, here's a message to every 19-year-old kid who probably wasn't going to vote in the 2024 election. When Joe Biden and the Democratic Party dangles, oh my God, it's 2 months before the 2024 election. We might be able to get you student debt relief. Oh, please just vote Democrat. Remember this moment. They're not going to do it. They're using that as a coax to get young people to go out and vote. It's so pathetic, but these young people are so stupid, they get manipulated. Yes, student debt listen, I think student debt, the idea that an 18-year-old kid can go 6 figures into debt by making one decision that's supposed to further his education, I think that's terrible. But at the end of the day, these kids are just going to have to suck it up and pay for it, because think about it. These same kids back when they were 17 or 18 made the argument, yes, I'm going to get some loans, but it's going to pay off in the long run because on average, people with degrees make more money than people without degrees, which I agree with 100%. If you have a degree, on average, you will be more successful, even if it is just slightly, but then they come back 4 or 5 years later with that degree and say, oh, the government and taxpayers should pay for my student loans. Well, which one is it? I thought if you got the degree, you could get a better job and use the job to pay for the student loans. I agree these kids are getting crushed, but it's like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They want the degree because the degree will get them better jobs, but then they say, no, now that I have the degree and I have all this debt, you need to pay for my debt. But that's that situation with the Canadian wildfires. I had said, I thought, listen, we might experience a power outage this summer, but it seems like it's coming from Canada and it is blowing just vicious chemicals. Again, I saw stories, they're like, oh, you might smell a campfire. No. I have not smelled a campfire once. This is straight chemicals. And then, of course, the huge breakdown of Twitter. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of the breakdown. Why did it break down? Either way, guys, what's happening on Twitter right now, you can still use it, and it is very good for news. I will say, I want to make sure, emphasis, news. That's the word I'm saying. But, I would say the issue, this is another thing where people were gaming the system. So you buy the verified checkmark for $8. This was happening a lot when people were trying to sell their subscriptions. So they would buy the $8 blue checkmark every month and they would comment under, a sports post and be like, ooh, and just say something, and you just know it's fake. You know they're just trying to sell whatever it is by people clicking on their profile, and they're going to have the top reply because they paid $8 and they verified themselves, and it's so unsustainable. Let's make the jump to Web3. You can put all the profiles in a database. People have to claim their profile and verify themselves. Boom, the problem is solved. And if you're Twitter, that's your really only hope. I mean, you can still try and do this, and I'm sure they'll fix it, and there's not going to be a limit. This is just, I'm guessing, a very temporary thing based off of a complete panic in the Twitter headquarters because the platform was virtually shut down and unusable due to the rate limit being exceeded, so they're limiting everyone on how many tweets they can view. The 600 tweet thing, I can't even tell you if I view 600 tweets a day. Do you have to click on the tweet? I'm guessing you do, because that's when you run into the issue. You go to the replies, that's where it says the rate limit. But those are just some different things going on, guys. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Actually, you know what? You might not want to use Twitter right now. Either way, that's going to do it for this video.